I am just amazed at how much the creators of the famous cartoon The Simpsons managed to predict. Today I want to tell you more about how you could have made money thanks to this cartoon or avoided the consequences of a global crisis. Moreover, they even predicted real mutants on our planet, but more about that at the end of the video. Enjoy watching The Simpsons Predictions. Surely you've seen tons of memes, news articles, and other posts about how The Simpsons have once again predicted some big news. What comes to mind immediately are scenes like Donald Trump winning the elections or the humorous episode about the revival of the Soviet Union. But in my opinion, these are so popular and well-known that everyone has heard about them, making them not so interesting to talk about anymore. So I decided to gather less-known facts that few people have heard about just for you. Let's start with a rather creepy story. In the 19th episode of the 5th season of The Simpsons, something happened. Homer Simpson brought home leftover food from the school cafeteria, cooked by lunch lady Doris. Everything would have been fine if it weren't for the cooking process. The episode clearly shows Doris using horse parts to prepare the food. It's all presented humorously, but who would have thought it could happen in real life? In 2013, a major scandal erupted in Europe. Tests conducted in Ireland revealed horse DNA in frozen beef burgers. It soon became clear that horse meat was present in various meat products sold in supermarkets and restaurants across Europe. And the most horrifying part is that such products ended up in ordinary school kitchens. That's the Simpsons predictions for you. Farms on skyscrapers. Alright, let's move on to calmer and more pleasant predictions. To be honest, I was horrified by the previous fact. In an episode that aired on March 19, 2000, the writers showed their vision of the future. In the cartoon, Bart sees what his life will be like in 30 years. In this episode, Lisa becomes the president of the United States, and the world undergoes significant changes. The most interesting part is that they showed farms on skyscraper roofs. Back then, it seemed incredible and far-fetched to people. But today, the concept of vertical farming exists. Essentially, plants are grown right inside buildings or on their roofs. One of the first and well-known projects of this kind was a farm in Singapore. Also, in New York, a company started building greenhouses on building rooftops. They grow vegetables and fruits there and then sell them at local markets. I also wanted to explain why this technology has become popular. The thing is, vertical farms allow growing more produce on a smaller area, which is particularly important in densely populated cities. Growing produce near consumption areas also reduces transportation costs and time. So, in big cities, you will always find fresh vegetables, and with no need for delivery, emissions into the atmosphere will be much lower. Mutant Tomatoes. Do you think The Simpsons can only predict standard things, political events, and the development of IT technologies? Not at all. I'm generally shocked by the next prediction because it seems incredibly unreal. In the 5th episode of the 11th season, released in 1999, Homer moves with his family to a farm, where he reminisces about his childhood. Meanwhile, he tries to grow tomatoes, but for some reason, nothing works. If you think he then developed some super-duper device to help him grow vegetables, no. He simply mixed tomato seeds with tobacco leaves. This resulted in an amazing hybrid product he called Tomaco. In the cartoon, it looked like a regular tomato that also caused addiction in everyone who tried it. It seems impossible and fantastic, but such a hybrid exists in real life. In 2013, Japanese scientists created a hybrid of a tomato and tobacco as part of research related to vaccine production. They developed special modified plants that could help produce medical substances. And why they chose such a strange approach, I personally do not understand. Even though the creation of Tomaco in the cartoon was a joke about people's addictions, in real life, this amazing hybrid helps scientists obtain useful medical substances. How to make money with The Simpsons. By the way, I discovered an amazing fact about The Simpsons. Did you know that UCAE could really increase your capital and avoid the consequences of a crisis with their help? Don't worry, I'm not advertising any dubious organization. It's all about the cartoon and games from this amazing universe. In 2012, a mobile game was released where players had to complete various quests and manage their own Springfield. In one update, a task was added where one of the characters mentions that Bitcoin is the currency of the future. Amazingly, at that time, the world's first cryptocurrency was worth very little. Just a few years later, one token could fetch thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. So, Simpsons fans could have invested money based on the advice of their favorite characters and increased their capital. Moreover, in the 24th episode of the 8th season, The Simpsons predicted the real estate market crisis that occurred 10 years later. There are no specific dates or details about what exactly happened in the cartoon's universe, but the creators depicted the general state of the economy and the American dream. As a result, this episode became ubiquitous just before the worst crisis of modern times. political predictions. In one of my previous videos, I already talked about how The Simpsons predicted Donald Trump's rise to power. And in general, this fact is so well known and popular on the internet that I won't tell it again. But there were several other political facts that could be foreseen from the cartoon. In another episode, the creators portrayed Lisa becoming president in a very interesting purple suit with cool accessories. It's worth mentioning that Kamala Harris, who is the current vice president, wore exactly the same outfit at the 2021 inauguration. Oh yes, you probably know this fact too, as it is quite well known. But the next story is not as popular on the internet. In the 4th episode of the 20th season, Homer Simpson goes to vote for Barack Obama in the 2008 elections using a special electronic machine. But when he chooses Obama, the machine registers the vote for another candidate. Despite several attempts to vote for someone else, the machine constantly chooses the wrong one. In the end, the machine swallows Homer. It's worth mentioning that in 2012, during the US presidential elections, similar incidents occurred. In several states, such machines were also used. Voters faced the problem of their choice being changed on its own. In our world, this led to serious scandals, and I am personally shocked that the cartoon's writers managed to predict even this. Predicting the future is extremely difficult. I always worry when I get behind the wheel of my car. What if I get into an accident? But what if it happens in another country? Have you been in an accident in America and don't know what to do next? Where to seek help? How to find a competent lawyer? How to get compensation if you don't have insurance? The company Accident America helped get $21 million in compensation for its clients. They will definitely answer all your questions. Link in the description. They even predicted this. I'm absolutely shocked. I've gathered a lot of facts that The Simpsons have been able to predict. Unfortunately, I can't tell you about all of them, but if you want more, be sure to let me know in the comments. For now, I'll continue my story. As I mentioned earlier, you can easily make money thanks to this cartoon, but I was very surprised to learn that The Simpsons can predict specific deals between major companies. In 1998, the 5th episode of the 10th season aired. In this episode, Homer Simpson becomes friends with a couple of celebrities and helps them hide out in town. In one scene, Homer pitches his movie ideas to Ron Howard, who then presents them to 20th Century Fox. And in one shot, there's an amazing sign that reads, "A division of Walt Disney." Back then, it seemed impossible to predict such a thing. It looked like 20th Century Fox would continue to exist independently, given how many great and extremely popular movies they released. But in 2017, a deal began involving, as you might have guessed, Walt Disney. By the first quarter of 2019, the deal was completed. Disney's purchase of the studio cost $71 billion. It's scary that The Simpsons managed to predict a deal between such prominent companies 20 years in advance. It seems like the writers are really from the future. Incredible scientific discoveries. So are you convinced yet that The Simpsons is a real treasure trove of future knowledge? If not, let me tell you about perhaps the most significant scientific prediction made in this cartoon. In the 2nd episode of the 10th season, Homer Simpson, experiencing a midlife crisis, decides to become an inventor, inspired by Thomas Edison's life. In one scene, he writes a complex equation on a chalkboard related to his inventive ideas. Our modern scientists decided to take a look at what Homer had written just for fun. Everyone was shocked. The thing is, the equation on the chalkboard predicted the mass of a particle similar to the Higgs boson. And even though it looks like a random set of mathematical symbols, physicists later noticed that its results are actually very similar to this amazing element. For many years, the Higgs boson remained theoretical because it was impossible to detect it accurately. But in 2012, at the Large Hadron Collider, scientists discovered a particle whose properties match those of the Higgs boson. And the coolest part is that a year later, the scientists who genuinely predicted its existence received the Nobel Prize in Physics. Of course, you might argue that the writers simply used a theoretical formula created by scientists back in the 70s. But the fact that they chose to include it in an episode about Homer trying to become an inventor amazes me. They could have just shown him creating something like a smartwatch or virtual reality helmets. Speaking of which, smartwatches and other inventions. As I found out, The Simpsons even predicted this. In 1995, the 19th episode of the 6th season aired. In it, Lisa Simpson sees her future in 2010. This episode features many futuristic technologies and various societal changes. One of these technologies is the smartwatch. A character in the episode wears a watch that can perform various functions, including communication. And lo and behold, they look remarkably similar to modern smartwatches, like the Apple Watch. And the most amazing part is that such gadgets appeared around the same time in our world. Apple introduced its first smartwatches in 2015. As you might know, they can sync with phones, make calls, send messages, and track physical activity. Exactly the same functions shown in the Simpsons episode. And the dates are almost identical. The difference is only 5 years. Personally, I'm shocked by such predictions, considering they were made 20 years in advance. It seems like the creators really have a calendar for the next 100 years and release episodes with a couple of decades to spare so they don't get caught. Terrifying mutants in reality. By the way, in the 4th episode of the 2nd season, which aired in 1990, there was another prediction. It also described something that happened in reality 20 years later. What was it about? Let me tell you. In this episode, Bart Simpson accidentally catches a 3-eyed fish named Blinky in a lake near the Springfield nuclear power plant. This event becomes a real sensation. The whole episode mainly talks about how harmful nuclear power plants can be and the need to tighten environmental laws. And it seems the creators were describing what happened in Argentina 21 years later. In 2011, near a nuclear power plant in Cordoba, local fishermen caught a 3-eyed fish. It was an ordinary wolffish, but with a highly disturbing anomaly. Naturally, this led to a huge wave of discussion and concern among residents and environmentalists. Everyone started talking about the need to tighten environmental legislation. In short, exactly the same as in the Simpsons episode, simply shocking. However, the exact causes of this mutation were not established. Many believe it could have happened due to radiation contamination or other chemicals in the water, but studies showed that nothing like that was found in the local ponds. Who knows what caused this amazing fish to appear? In this video, I've told you even more about the incredible predictions of The Simpsons. What do you think? Is it possible that the creators really came from the future? Personally, I'm more and more convinced of this. Write in the comments if you want this series to continue, and thank you for watching.